Understanding the Nature of Perception, Reality is Neutral. Written by Theo E. David. Welcome back to our audiobook shelf. We hope you enjoy the book, and please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons to get our latest content. Enjoy. Introduction. The assertion that reality is neutral challenges our conventional understanding of the world around us. It suggests that the events and circumstances in our lives possess an inherent neutrality, devoid of any moral quality or value. What imbues these events with meaning and significance is not the reality itself, but rather our subjective, often distorted interpretations. This perspective underscores that our perceptions and interpretations of reality are profoundly influenced by our individual beliefs, biases, and experiences. We tend to filter and interpret events through the lens of our own perspectives, emotions, and preconceived notions. Consequently, what may appear inherently good or bad to one person may be perceived quite differently by another. The notion that what happens is what it is, and what we make of it is who we are, encapsulates this understanding. It suggests that while reality presents us with a series of events and circumstances, it is our responses, interpretations, and actions in the face of these realities that ultimately define us. In other words, our perception of reality and our subsequent responses shape our identity, values, and character. By acknowledging the neutrality of reality and the subjectivity of our interpretations, we are prompted to cultivate greater awareness, discernment, and mindfulness in our interactions with the world. We are encouraged to question our assumptions, challenge our biases, and approach life with a sense of curiosity and open-mindedness. Ultimately, embracing the idea that reality is neutral empowers us to take greater responsibility for our perceptions and responses, fostering personal growth, resilience, and a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Chapter 1: Reality stands autonomous from your consciousness. The theory that reality stands autonomous from consciousness suggests that people's subjective experiences or cognitive processes have no bearing on reality. Reality exists independently and is not influenced by the will of the individual, regardless of their level of consciousness or intelligence. The mind's propensity to interpret and draw connections based on previously taught concepts is typically present in human interaction with reality. The idea is to temporarily halt this automatic filtering and only use your senses of sight and sound to experience reality. By doing this, it becomes clear that different people have different perceptions of reality shaped by their own experiences. Unanimity in perception is not guaranteed even in a shared context with several witnesses. Different perspectives or attention to different facets of the same reality may occur to each individual. This insight goes beyond the domains of philosophy, personality, and consciousness, emphasizing how reality is fundamentally an objective entity, distinct from the subjective interpretations imposed by human brains. Everything else is just an accumulation of interpretations placed on top of the unchangeable basis that is reality. From this angle, we see that reality is actually neutral and has no inherent goodness or badness. The person assessing the circumstance is the only one who can determine whether something is good or terrible. This understanding stresses the subjective aspect of human perception while challenging the idea that there is objective goodness or badness inherent in reality. Because each person has distinct experiences, beliefs, values, and perspectives, what one person considers positive or useful may not be the same for another. Furthermore, acknowledging the impartiality of reality redirects attention toward the personal responsibility of making value assessments. It emphasizes how each person has the agency to interpret and provide meaning to their experiences. People actively evaluate and classify events according to their own standards, as opposed to being passively determined by external circumstances. This insight recognizes the variety of viewpoints that influence people's conceptions of good and wrong, opening the way to a more complex understanding of morality and ethics. When evaluating the moral ramifications of a situation, it encourages people to reflect on their own motivations and those of others, fostering empathy and reflection. In the end, accepting reality's neutrality gives people the freedom to be responsible for how they perceive and react to the world. It promotes a stronger feeling of personal accountability for negotiating the moral terrain and a deeper engagement with the intricacies of the human experience. Chapter 2: Embracing Unfiltered Perception. When we engage with our environment, our brains become activated. Our brains are like amateur sleuths, constantly attempting to piece together clues from our experiences to form a coherent picture. In a way, it's similar to having a mental library filled with various resources that assist us in navigating life. However, there are instances when our minds become overly dependent on these acquired ideas. Picture this: you're out and about when you spot a large, fluffy, four-legged mammal with a tail. It could be a dog, since it fits the mental picture you've stored for dog. Your brain easily identifies it as a dog. At this point, things start to get intriguing. In this context, the exercise in question is analogous to pressing a reset button on one's brain. Taking a step back and paying attention to your most fundamental senses, like sight and sound, is more important than making snap judgments or categorizing everything you encounter. Imagine yourself in a natural setting with birdsong, flowers, and trees all around. Just take it all in without trying to identify anything. Maybe it's a bird that sounds like a robin or a maple tree. It's as if you could look at everything with new, unfiltered eyes. Doing so may help you focus on finer elements that previously went unnoticed. Perhaps the delicate swaying of a branch or the detailed patterns on a leaf will catch your attention. Living in the now and taking in the world as it is, unfiltered, is the key. Pause, open your eyes, and hear what the world has to offer. When you release those learned ideas and welcome the beauty of raw reality, who knows what marvels you might find. Chapter 3. How the Mind Operates. You see, our minds are like complex machinery that are always processing information and interpreting the environment in which we live. The problem is that occasionally our thoughts can fool us and divert us from what is actually true. Imagine a magician pulling off a magic trick. They trick us into thinking something is true when, in fact, they are deceiving us. Because our minds are programmed to fill in the holes and make meaning of what we perceive, they become susceptible to illusions. The shocking part is that our minds may be effective instruments for discovering the truth. We can educate our minds to distinguish between what is genuine and what isn't, much like detectives putting together clues to solve a case. Assume you are attempting to solve a riddle. Everything appears chaotic and unclear at first. However, when you begin to put the pieces together, a distinct picture starts to take shape. The same is true of our thoughts. We can train them to filter out irrelevant information and find the real story that lies beneath the surface. This is when the exciting part begins. You see, freedom and clarity aren't just idealistic concepts, they're realistic objectives that result from knowing how our thoughts function. We may view the world for what it really is when we have the ability to look past the distortions and illusions our minds have produced. Consider a moment when you found yourself enmeshed in a tornado of feelings and ideas. Perhaps you were holding on to a belief that was no longer helpful to you, or perhaps you were anxious about something that ended up being nothing. Those were the times when freedom and clarity seemed unattainable, like attempting to navigate through thick fog. However, by standing back and looking at how your own mind functions, you can begin to pierce through the mist and reveal the reality that lies beneath. When the truth suddenly becomes apparent, it's like turning on a light in a dark room, allowing you to proceed with assurance and clarity. The next time you find yourself lost in a whirlwind of ideas and feelings, remember that you can achieve both clarity and freedom. You can open the door to a life of clarity, freedom, and fulfillment by discovering how your mind works and developing the ability to separate reality from illusion. Chapter 4. The Essence of the Present Moment. What does it mean to be fully present in the here and now? Let's explore these questions in depth. Imagine yourself reclining in a warm cafe, sipping a piping hot mug of coffee. As you sit here, you can almost smell the coffee being brewed as the sound of conversation and the clinking of cups envelops you. You are witnessing reality at its most basic level right now. The thing is, reality isn't some faraway idea or concept, it's the stuff that's going on in this particular location right now. It's the sensory experience that envelops you, unconstrained by physical or mental location, including sights, sounds, smells, and feels. Picture yourself on a tropical beach, watching the waves lap at the coast with your bare feet on the soft sand, immersed in the breathtaking scenery. It's easy to forget that you're even in this world. The truth is that you are here in this cafe, sipping coffee, regardless of how much you wish you could close your eyes and mentally go to that beach. Separate from our own subjective experiences, the core of reality is the here and now. It's as if every second is a blank slate that life uses to create its masterpiece, with different colors and textures added at random. Amazingly, you are in complete control of your attention and may choose to live in the here and now, appreciating reality for all its complexity and beauty. Imagine a moment when you were completely in the here and now, unconcerned with anything that had happened or was about to happen. Perhaps it was taking in a stunning sunset, dancing in the rain, or just being alone for a moment. Those were the times when you were living life to the fullest, most genuine extent possible. You were connecting with reality itself. Remember that the present moment is always waiting for you. The next time you feel detached or lost in contemplation, a more profound sense of connection, contentment, and joy can be yours when you give yourself over to the beauty of the here and now, and live in the here and now. Chapter 5: Reality does not change. The core idea that reality is static and unchanging is emphasized by the sentence "Reality is reality, regardless of how we choose to interpret it. The perspective through which we perceive the world varies from one individual to the next." Imagine the huge, immovable landscape of reality. Regardless of how we perceive it, it exists separate from and in its own right. Nevertheless, people come to this terrain armed with their unique histories, worldviews, prejudices, and mental models. All of these things significantly impact their ability to understand and make sense of the world. This discord in perception is made clear when two people face the identical scenario and come up with very different conclusions. For example, due to their individual biases and viewpoints, two eyewitnesses to the same occurrence could form completely different opinions. To emphasize this difference between objective truth and the subjective interpretations that cover it, the sentence alludes to an exercise. The impact of one's own views on one's perception of reality can be better understood through self-reflection and analytical thinking. By going through this, we can better understand how our own subjective thinking shapes our understanding of the world and how to interact with it on a more sophisticated level. Understanding the nuances of the human condition requires accepting both the fixedness of reality and the subjectivity of individual perceptions. It promotes modesty, compassion, and tolerance, which in turn help us value the many viewpoints that contribute to our common knowledge of the world. Understanding the difference between what is true and what is perceived allows us to face life's challenges with more wisdom and understanding. Chapter 6: The multidimensional nature of reality. An in-depth understanding of one's own consciousness and its multidimensional existence is inextricably related to the recognition of reality. In this context, reality refers to more than just the material world. It includes all of a person's subjective experiences shaped by their perceptions, thoughts, and levels of self-awareness. At its core, this comprehension revolves around the idea of consciousness, the filter through which people take in and make sense of their environment. The variety of states and levels that consciousness emerges across adds to the complexity of the human experience. Consciousness is not limited to a single dimension or plane of existence. Throughout this view, one's awareness can be located anywhere in the universe, not just in the physical material world. This encompasses not just the external world, but also one's inner mental and emotional landscapes, as well as their spiritual elements. The core of reality is that it is a continually shifting and reimagined product of the interaction between our internal states of awareness and the stimuli from the outside world. Moreover, the idea that reality is felt in any space where consciousness is located implies a simultaneous presence in more than one dimension. Modern ideas in areas like metaphysics and neuroscience propose the presence of dimensions or realities beyond our normal perception. This is in line with their findings. When seen in this light, reality is malleable and open to numerous subjective interpretations and experiences. As a result, it encourages people to go beyond the limitations of space and time and discover the infinite potential of their own minds. The deep connectivity of all existence is highlighted by the realization that reality is inextricably linked to consciousness. It challenges us to live in a world where our internal experiences are just as important as our external surroundings and to see reality in its whole. Realizing that there are more than one dimension to the universe helps us comprehend the great mysteries of life and our place in the vast tapestry of consciousness. Chapter 7: Reality and Imagination. A sharp line separates imagination from reality and emphasizes the significance of action and concrete manifestation. In this sense, the concrete observable world, that is subject to empirical data and physical rules, is referred to as reality. It is the world in which decisions are made with actual consequences and where natural laws govern how things happen. Most importantly, reality is defined by people's ability to act concretely and bring about changes in the physical world. This covers everything from simple activities like walking and talking to more difficult undertakings like building structures or finding solutions to issues. Reality is essentially characterized by its intrinsic tangibility and people's capacity to interact directly with their surroundings. On the other hand, the domain of imagination functions independently of both physical presence and direct action. It includes everything that exists in the mind, including ideas, thoughts, and mental constructions. Through imagining possibilities beyond the confines of the present, people might explore abstract concepts, creative activities, and hypothetical scenarios. Despite being a powerful cognitive tool that stimulates creativity, innovation, and problem-solving, imagination lacks the concrete effects of physical acts. Though they could amuse, excite, or prompt thinking, imaginative ideas lack the tangible substance of acts performed in the real world. Furthermore, imagination frequently flourishes in environments devoid of or unimportant to bodily presence. This encompasses people's fantasies, dreams, and virtual worlds, where they are free to explore countless options without being restricted by the confines of the real world. Imagination rules in these domains, forming whole universes and stories that transcend the boundaries of reality. Making the distinction between imagination and reality helps us better appreciate the distinctive features of each world. Whereas imagination unleashes the infinite creative potential of the human mind, reality provides the chance for concrete encounters, relationships, and accomplishments. When combined, they constitute complementary facets of human cognition that enable people to navigate both the tangible worlds of daily existence and the limitless domains of possibility found in their imaginations. Epilogue. By pondering the idea that reality is neutral, we have started a deep process of reflection and self-exploration. We now see that our perception of reality is shaped by our subjective interpretations, rather than the circumstances and events that occur in our lives, which are not intrinsically meaningful or valuable. We are reminded of the power and responsibility ingrained in our views and actions when we consider this realization. We realize that a variety of complicated interactions, such as our beliefs, emotions, and past experiences, influence how we perceive the world. However, we also acknowledge that we have the capacity to rise above and beyond these arbitrary lenses in order to develop a more acute awareness and precise grasp of reality. Going forward, we are expected to welcome reality's neutrality as a significant chance for personal development and self-awareness. We know that by accepting reality's fundamental neutrality, we can free ourselves from the limitations of narrow thinking and adopt a more comprehensive and nuanced viewpoint. By doing this, we welcome life's ambiguities and uncertainties with bravery and curiosity, opening ourselves up to its richness and complexity. We make an effort to approach every moment with awareness and presence because we know that our reactions and perceptions affect not just our experiences but also our identities and the environment we live in. May our relationships with others be characterized by compassion, empathy, and understanding as we weave our way through the complex fabric of life. May we work to close the gaps that separate us and acknowledge the innate interdependence of all living things. And may we never forget that, although reality might be objective, the effects of our deeds and intentions have an impact that extends much beyond our own selves, influencing both the trajectory of our lives and the environment we live in. Let us go out on this road with courage, humility, and an uncompromising dedication to truth and authenticity, armed with our newly acquired wisdom and clarity. For when we accept the neutrality of reality, we unlock the infinite possibilities for development, change, and profound self-discovery. Thanks for listening, and please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and also click the small bell icon to receive a notification every time a new free audiobook has arrived. Thanks again.